Residents from Khayelitsha, Philippi and other informal settlements gathered at the Rondebosch Golf Club yesterday to commemorate Human Rights Day in a protest that highlighted unfair land distribution in the city of Cape Town. The protesters called for the golf course to be converted into social housing. The protest came after Ndifuna released a report detailing various recreational clubs around Cape Town which are located on city-owned land and leased for approximately 1,000 rands yearly rent. And I'm now joined by the researcher for Ndifuna, Nick Butlander, who did this on behalf of Ndifuna, the research report. And Nick will give us a background to the report. We hope to have Modise, who is MMC for Housing and Human Settlements, join us later on. Now, let me start with you, Nick. Just give me a sense of this report, how you went about compiling it, what happened, the methodology behind it, and the objectives of the report.
Okay, great, Tim. Firstly, thank you very much for having me. So the basic thrust of the report and its key overall message is that local government in the city of Cape Town, but also in other municipalities across the country, have failed to distribute land. And you know, one way that this is evidenced is through the leasing of land. So basically leases are pieces of land that the government rents out to private companies and associations. And in the case of golf courses and bowling greens and parking lots, we think that this is an inappropriate use of land given the government's other obligations, particularly obligations around the housing crisis and the segregation crisis.
Well, I suppose those who use those facilities or use that land would say that, you know, there's enough land in Cape Town to develop housing. Why target the particular recreational facilities? And I'll talk about the rental that they pay on those lands. I mean, 1,000 rands sounds like a very small amount for the piece of land that you're talking about and the fees that are paid by members of these clubs.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think you know, that's what's helped this issue gain attention, is that for many people in this country, the fact that associations that cater predominantly to wealthy people pay only 1,000 rand a year seems like an insult. You know, when many people who live in informal settlements and in backyards pay more than that per month to stay in what really aren't great conditions. So you know, if somebody said to me, why don't we use other pieces of land, I would ask them to point that land out. You know, I think it's important that large parcels of land that the government owns are developed in a way that benefits everybody in Cape Town. Our history, you know, going from colonialism through to apartheid, was based around the use of land to segregate people and to dispossess people. And I don't think we will overcome the consequences of that by continuing to use land in a very similar way that we did during apartheid. I mean, one of the reasons that we have so many golf courses and so many bowling greens is that the apartheid government was catering to the leisure needs of just the white population. Now, in a democratic society that is dealing with you know, the terrible consequences of our past, we need a radical new approach to land that government owns, and there's a lot of it.
All right, let's put the same point to Modise, who is MMC for Housing in Cape Town, to tell us why they have not taken over that land and converted to for social housing. Modise, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Tim, and good evening to your listeners. Tim, let me deal with this issue from onset.
Yeah.
There is no way that in every piece of land that we have in our country we can build houses. What we need to do in our country, we need to, one, integrate our society, but over and above that, we need to make sure that when we integrate our society, we make sure that there are opportunities for people to work. Now, I don't want a populist exercise where people now just see any piece of land, whether it's a golf course, because the assumption is, Tim, is that black people don't play golf. And that's why the narrative is wrong. Or the narrative is wrong in the perception that black people don't have aspirations of being industrialists, which is wrong. Now, what we need to do when we integrate society, we need to make sure that we build a society that builds an economy. an economy that makes sure that those people whom we are trying to make sure that they are in houses, but they have economic opportunities where they have jobs. They are able to make sure that also we grow the economy over and above that, we create jobs for those people. Because not only we offer people free houses, but we also offer people, those who earn over and above that threshold of 3,500 and above.
Well, let me interrupt you for a moment, because the housing need in Cape Town, we're told, is more than 365,000, or that's where the number is. And I put this question to Nick Budlander, inquiring if there was land available elsewhere for such housing. And Nick's response was that, show me the land. Where is such land? So I suppose the question is based on the fact that it appears in Cape Town you do not have that much available land to build social housing for people and to house them closer to where the job opportunities exist. Do you have such land?
Tim, across the country, Cape Town is not an island. Cape Town is part of South Africa. That's one thing we need to understand. What we are doing, we are making sure that any pockets of land that are available. Last week, I was in an engagement with the national government to make sure that they give me some land that is available within the city of Cape Town to make sure that we build houses. But I've engaged them not only to build houses, because that is not only the priority, but the priority is to make sure that we make sure that where we build houses, we build an integrated society. We bring in amenities. We bring in industrialism. If you look at, for example, now, on R300 in Cape Town, we're building something very new, industries that are employing people who are living on poor areas. Because it's not about delivering houses only. It's about an integration.
Well, Malusi Boy, just tell me, where do you think that Nick Budlander and his colleagues are missing the point? Because they've calculated how many houses you can build on the golf course, Rondebosch Golf Course in particular, that we're talking about. And they are insistent that, that would help solve the problem. So engage him on this matter and tell us where exactly do you think he's missing the point?
Yeah, he's missing the point on the fact that they believe that the only solution to our country is to build houses, and that is not the only solution. Let me make it a simple example, Tim. Where we build houses, we need to make sure there are schools. We need to make sure there are parks. We need to make sure that there are hospitals. We need to make sure there are other amenities, including golf courses. Because remember, Tim, when we want to see the tiger whales of this world, they need to start somewhere.
Well, I suppose it's a fair point that
wait.
Yeah,
when we need to we need to see Serena Williams, who's top in the world, they need to start somewhere. Those amenities, we need to build them from grassroots. Now, people think that you can be Tiger Woods overnight. It doesn't work that way. It's an effort that you repeat. The reason why our country today, from a football point of view, which gets to Bafana, is not performing the way it is because our public schools are not putting the right effort to where it's supposed to be.
Well, Nick, how do you respond to this, Nick? Well, let's pause for a moment. Let me just get Nick to respond, if you don't mind. I'll be coming back to you in a short time. Nick.
Yes, so I would certainly agree that housing isn't the only challenge that our country faces, but many other challenges are linked to it. Particularly the location of housing determines whether people are able to find jobs and whether they're able to keep their jobs because of the amount of money that has to be spent on transport and the time that it takes to move in and out of well-located areas from the edges of the city. And I also, on the topic of sort of economic efficiency and job creation, our proposal for the Rondebosch Golf Course includes an office space and retail space and numerous other spaces that would create jobs, firstly. And secondly, I think it's important to recognize that the city itself has admitted that the Rondebosch Golf Course is an inefficient use of land. Across the road from it is the Mowbray Golf Course, literally a stone's throw away, also located on municipal land and also only charged 1,000 Rand per year. So when we talk about integrated opportunities and we talk about employment, I think housing and well-located housing are fundamental to that. You know, our proposal includes social amenities, sports fields, and a truly public space that is accessible to everyone and not just members of a golf course.
Well, Modise Boy, that is Nick responding. And let me add a question as you respond to him. The 1,000 rands a year, I think, is going to irritate a lot of ratepayers in Cape Town who pay much, much more per month. 1,000 rands a year for people who pay 15,000 plus golf club membership.
Can I quickly respond to that, Tim? Can I quickly respond to Tim?
Yes.
As a city now, we're currently reviewing that process of people paying 1 Rand or 1,000 Rand. We're currently reviewing that process. For me, that is not the main issue. Because at the end of the day, whether someone pays 20,000 or 50,000 Rand, it's not the main issue. The main issue is that what is that we want to take our society to be? Because part of the problem, and he's admitting that what we need to do, we need to make sure that we bring amenities. Part of the amenities is a golf course. What you cannot do as citizens of Cape Town is to say we disregard everything. Part of the problem that the national government has done, let me make an example, is to disregard an issue like where they disbanded colleges of agriculture. Now, all of a sudden, we're importing maize in our country. Now, as a country, we should be in a position to make sure that we have a huge talent in our country where we should be showcasing it. As we are, for instance, we are hosting the 2023 Netball World Cup. Now, we should be in our grassroots level.
Yeah, but you see, the points you are making are valid, but here is the problem. You have a housing shortage for 365,000 people, you see. I think the interest or concern here is what are you going to do about that problem that you have on your hands?
No, wait, Tim. You can't say the point that I'm making is invalid. And then
no, it's not invalid. I'm saying it's acceptable, but you've got an even bigger problem. I mean, winning a tournament is one thing, but providing housing to a large number of people is another story.
Yes, it's another story, but it's linked to the person who's living in that house to make sure that that person is capacitated. One of the things we're doing as the Directorate of Human Settlement, one, we're making sure that those people that are vulnerable, they have houses. What do you mean by vulnerable? We mean the elderly, those who are disabled or who have disabled kids, and those people who have child-headed households. Those are people whom we classify as vulnerable. But over and above that, we're making sure that those people who deserve better opportunities and they are poor, we give them houses. And one of the things that we have done, you will realize in the next year or so, we have increased the threshold, the yield that is on the output of houses that we are putting out there from about 3,100 to about 5,000 now. Because one of the things that we are doing is to make sure that people are getting opportunities.
Okay.
But where is the problem?
Where's the problem, very briefly, and we conclude?
Yes, where the problem is those people who have given opportunities, they rent out those houses, they sell those houses, and they go back to informal structures. And that's what we need to address because it's an economic issue. Because the problem is that not only they have received the house, but they feel that they can't afford to live in that house. They want to go back into an informal structure so that they get some or benefit or financial benefit from that particular house to where they are living.
Okay, well, thanks very much. And Nick, just quick response from you. Does this make sense to you, what Modise Boy has just said? And what are you going to do next after this? Very brief response.
Well, I mean, I think one thing I just want to pick up on, Tim, is this argument about rates and the amount of rates that people in Cape Town pay. If these sites were developed with the model that we've proposed, that includes both market rate and affordable housing, the market rate housing would generate millions and millions of rand in rent for the city every year. And additionally, there are other costs of leaving such big pieces of land undeveloped and of having 2 golf courses next to each other in the center of the city. And those are costs to the city of Cape Town in extending services over further and further distances. And ultimately, it is us, the people that live in Cape Town, who pay for those costs and whose rates increase. And effectively, we're subsidizing an inefficient use of land when what we really should be prioritizing is the needs of millions of people.
Nick Budlander, thank you very much for talking to us, as well as Malusi Boy. Thanks again for having been part of this discussion. Of course, it's still going to be probed further in days ahead. In a short moment, I will be talking about the cyclone Adair that hit Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. Now, international aid has been trickling into these countries to ease the humanitarian crisis there. And the SADC region has, however, remained silent. The SADC organ has not come together to deal with a disaster of this scale. We'll be asking why this is the case.